Make room for Javi.
Welcome to my Project a Day video, where I explain a project or tell a story each day for a year, and I attempt to complete my shop. Today I'll share the story of my buddy, Mr. Mike. In the Christmas theme park that was Santa's Enchanted Forest, there was a character of extreme kindness and generosity known as Mr. Mike. I got to know Mr. Mike in my tenure at Santa's, and as a friend, I was always ready to do anything he asked of me. Sometimes he would ask me the craziest things or come up with the most unique problems. I feel he felt I would always have an answer for them. I often did, as I always enjoyed a challenge. He and I would often sit on the bench across from his pizza joint, people watching and chatting the hours away. The endless conversations were always of interest to me. Every now and then his wife, his son Mike, or a close friend Samir, or another friend of ours would come by and sit and chat about everything and anything. There's nothing I find more stimulating, yet at the same time relaxing, than having conversations with friends at length on any interesting subject. Some folks would drop by and treat Mike like sort of a godfather figure. He looked and played the Italian persona, but he was Canadian through and through, with a modicum of Italian blood. People would pay respects as they go by the joint. If the conversation was interesting enough, Mike would often offer them a slice of pizza, but more often than not, they would refuse, thank him, and move on. I'd only eat in 3 locations at Santa's: the Argentinian stand that had the best churrasco, the burger joint in the back, and Mr. Mike's Pizza. Most often, of course, it was Mr. Mike, as the pizza was the least expensive option as well as the most fulfilling. Mind you, I would arrive for setup at 3 or 4. The park would open at 5 and go on until 1 or 2 a.m. Over that short period of time, Mike and I got to know each other so well that he would tell his employees, don't let him pay. There was a select few of us who enjoyed that privilege at Santa's. I never took it for granted, and I always offered to pay the first couple of years, but after that, Mr. Mike would take it as an insult if I paid. I would often serve my own drink and avoid costing him any time he'd afford to a paying customer. Many times I'd jump in one of the joints and serve customers for him as well. When his roasted corn stand was busy at a time when my stands weren't, I'd hop right in and shuck corn, place them on the roaster, attend the register, whatever was necessary to keep the flow going. Every now and then, Mike would ask me to taste test a new supplier of food products. One time, he said to me that his hot dog sales were down, and for me to sample them as he got them from a cheaper supplier. Hey John, he told his employee, make Javi a hot dog. I would never disrespect Mike by giving him anything but the most honest answer. I told him, Mike, I never had a more bland tasting hot dog in my entire life. I literally spit out the bite I was chewing and threw the rest of the hot dog away. He told John to move over and cooked another one himself. He said, you don't know what you're doing. Let me cook it. He gave it some slices and had the grill marks all in the right places. Based on looks, this was the best hot dog I'd ever seen. But after tasting it, I told him, Mike, these hot dogs are horrible. This is going to cost you a lot of customers, and being that you are one of the first and last food joints, they'll definitely avoid you on the way out after tasting that hot dog. You'll cut your sales in half. He dumped the new vendor and went back to other suppliers. They weren't Nathan's or Ballpark, but they came close. When my girls were young, we'd often organize a day or two where they went en masse with their friends or their respective Girl Scout troops to the park. I would occasionally ask Mr. Mike, how much for 5 pies? The first couple of years, he gave me the whole $22 retail pies for only $5 each. But after that, he just said, let them know how many you need and don't worry about it. But Mike, they're not for me. Don't worry about it. I always made sure the girls and the parents knew who sponsored that generosity. And a bunch of elementary school girls collectively saying thank you to Mr. Mike always brought a smile to his fake scowl. One year, across from Santa's, they opened up a top-tier Argentinian steakhouse. Mr. Mike decided to treat all his regular employees, as well as Samir, myself, and a few other friends, to dinner. It was a $99 per person plate plus drinks and other amenities. That goes to show what a kind and generous man he was. We would often go to his favorite Chinese restaurant across from the park. Each 4-month season, while he was staying in Miami, he would go 4 to 5 times a week to that restaurant. In addition, he was a generous tipper. Needless to say, the entire staff treated him like a king. While the extravagant generosity helped, they did so mostly because he was a jovial, kind man, but you would never know it from that permanent scowl on his face. A scowl that was merely an act to hide the kind soul within. Here's to you, Mr. Mike. May you rest forever in peace, knowing you will always be remembered by those whose lives you have touched. You are dearly missed. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment. I enjoy reading them, particularly when they're pleasant. Please subscribe, and as always, have a great day. Pace yourself. You'll go far.
Make room for Javi.